social media for quite a long time. But I think I just want to start off with just a recap of your journey. So how did you get here? What did you major in? Like, how did you decide to be creative, especially coming from the background that we come from, right? It's hard to make that decision to take such a career on full time. So how did you get from Nneka at 10 years old to where you are today?
Complete disapproval from the parents. Yeah. Not complete, but I think that a lot of people, because I don't talk about it a lot, I have a background in mental health. So my father started a human services organization. So we staff for the mental health community and things like that. So I've worked with consumers in their home. I've passed medication. I've changed diapers. I've done a lot of things and was working in that field for 16 years while I was taking photos and trying to steal my dad's camera and doing things where they're like, this is not gonna make you money. We heard that before, right? This is not gonna make you any money. So figure out what you wanna do. Studied marketing in college, did not go to a top university, I know. One of one in the room that did not go to a top university. But, and came out, worked straight for the family business. So my brother and sister graduated from U of M, I was at Eastern. They were looking at me like, this girl, what is she gonna do with her life? Work for the family, did that, and I didn't stop with the camera. I couldn't put it down. I think when we're doing things like that, we have to remain steadfast in the love for it. And I know we talk a lot about money. You have a million gurus on TikTok, on Instagram, everywhere. You can log on, but a lot of people don't talk about the love that pushes you through. And for me, it was love photography that now spun into the love of writing, which is how Passing Through came to be, the love of travel. I was fortunate enough to take good enough photos to where people wanted to pay me for those photos. And then I could go on a rant. There's a lot of beautiful imagery as well online. So I was in Marrakesh on a camera, and I took this beautiful, I had a friend like art directing this photo, and at the time there was a lot happening in both of our lives. And I posted this picture, gorgeous picture, likes, comments, and it just didn't feel right to just have that be the end of the story. So I picked up a pen, started writing about the experiences, and wanted to show people that there's a human behind the photos. Which I was just talking with a lovely young woman who just left about how our stories are, we just don't take enough stock in our own stories. I think our family stories, we'd be fortunate enough to have a family, because those are the things that die first. The businesses will come and go, but every time I lose an aunt, every time I lose an uncle, I lose a library. So that propelled me into writing, that propelled me into storytelling in multimedia form, and it changed my life.
Isn't she just the best storyteller? Y'all, I can sit here and listen to her go on. So I think something that a lot of people in the first panel, the second panel, even the questions have talked about is just being from the backgrounds that we are. Like you said, there's sometimes not a lot of support, wanting to do the things that you want to do. So the theme of this event, how did you get out of your own way, and also out of pushing through other people's opinions of their impressions of, I think this is what you should do, I think this is who you need to be, and really allowing yourself to listen to your own voice to say, I'm passionate about this thing, even though I don't know where it's going to go. So how did you, what was it? Was it just the love of it, or was there something else that you felt like really kept you going?
Well, I think that I had the pleasure, I didn't think of it when it was happening, but I had the pleasure of not being the best at anything, really. I didn't go to the best school, didn't have the best grades, so I wasn't top of class.
You are the best at a lot of things. Okay.
Thank you. It took a while, but I think not having that pressure, because every African in the room knows it. Of this pressure to achieve, and I think that burden was taken off of me very early. So for me, it was just about how good I'm proving myself wrong. I'm not proving whatever you thought of me, that's already out the window. You know, even now my parents don't know what I do. You know, they couldn't tell you gun to head what I do for a living, but I think that, you know, there's people in the way, there's opinions, but as you get older, it's just you. It's just you. It's not any auntie looking at you in the mirror every day saying that you can't do that. So I think we have to decipher which voice is ours. I'm still deciphering which voice is mine. So, you know, to me, I think getting out of your own way is really actually like it's as simple as that. It's realizing which voice is yours and which voice isn't, and sitting through the noise to get to the point where it's like, in this life you can make anything you want to. Anything. If you told me I'd be doing this, I would have laughed in college. So, you know, I think that even if when you're watching people in their path, like that just is not, it's too small for you. That path won't fit you. You have to find something that's uniquely your own.
And I mean, you put out a lot of great work. I'm such a fan of your work, as you know. I mean, who has seen her video on Instagram called To The Few? Has anyone, I mean, incredible. You put out a lot of amazing work. And I think just even reading some of your words and looking at your work, a common theme and your captions, and you talk a lot about imposter syndrome, and we've talked about it today, and comparing yourself to other people or feeling like other, especially on social media, right? You see that highlight reel and everyone seems to be doing so much better than you. Everyone seems to be achieving at such a higher level and they make it look so easy. So first, I mean, I just want to get your opinion on why do you think it's such a common narrative, especially for women? I feel like we go through way more than men do, this feeling of we're just not enough, or we just can't do things. So because you write about it so much, why do you think it's such a common narrative for women?
Because I think that a lot of the generations before us, they're in survival mode. They still are. Their advice has maxed out, it's expired, and it's the rhetoric we continue to hear, right? My aunt just the other day, she knows, she's seen videos, she's seen my internet profile, but she's like, have you thought of medical school? I'm like, medical? It's not a possibility. So it's like, I think they're very much so like, yes, find something secure. But we know with how things are moving, that's non-existent, right? So I really think that for me, pushing through this idea of I'm not good enough or comparing myself to others, you have to realize like a lot of the people that are judging your work or who you think are judging your work the most aren't in the arena at all. Like, I've taken on the mentality a while ago of like, if you think you can do it better, do it. Do it. Or clap for the people, have some respect for the people that are doing it. So when you start doing it, you'll start critiquing less. I guarantee it. You'll start critiquing less and you start comparing less when you're actually focusing on your work.
Can I get some snaps? Can I get some snaps? Come on, that is so good. And I think to your point, I think a lot of us in this room can relate to your point around our parents, and they're really just advising us from their fears, and they know what they know. Being a doctor, they know it's going to be successful. This didn't exist in their generation. Social media, being creatives, entrepreneurs, and starting, they don't even, my dad, today he doesn't know what I'm doing here. He's just like, your program, what is this program? This your program, it sounds stressful. But with all the love and support, of course, always with all the love and support, but they're always advising us from the best place that they can, that from their wealth of knowledge, from their history, and they just don't even know where to begin. I think sometimes that scares them, because they're our parents and they love us and they just want to see us safe. And so sometimes when we're almost jumping off a cliff and just doing new things, they're like, I think you should go this way. And sometimes I think, even for me, I think a lot of the times I would be upset and I would be, why would you want to put me in that box? I am your child. You should want me to do the thing I'm telling you I want to do, but I've had to give them grace as I've gotten older where it's all from love. At the end of the day, it's all from love, and it's just, they're advising me from what they know. So yeah, I can definitely relate to that. So to the point around imposter syndrome, overthinking, anxiety, do you still struggle with any of those, or does it still come up? And if so, what practices or habits or routines get you out of that space when you're in it? Because I'm always there where I could be having a good day. We've been putting on this event, everything is going great, and then I have a second where I'm just, nothing's gonna work out, everything's going horrible. But then I do certain things and I have a list on my phone that these are the things I'm going to do, because take a walk, listen to this playlist, that immediately get me out of that negative headspace. So I wonder if you have anything that you can advise that kind of works for you when you're in that moment where you feel like you're almost drowning and suffocating in your mind because you're so overwhelmed by all the things. So how do you get out of that space?
I've been telling myself this recently of mood follows action, and that's just it. Like your mood, whatever it is that day, a single step forward is going to change it. Sitting in it is not going to change it. So I think that when we remind ourselves, like, all I have to do is just momentum. All I have to do is take a step forward. The inch matters, the inch matters, the inch matters. Then it becomes just a practice of habit, of getting out and getting up, because the ebb and flow emotionally of any creative work, of life, being human, it'll take you under if you let it, right? So I think that the practice for me has been breathing, has been walking, but also just this reminder of, okay, I can actually affect the outcome, I can affect my mood by doing the thing that I know I should do, which is what's giving me all the anxiety. It's not going to be perfect, it just isn't. I had an event, as you know, a couple days ago, and it went fantastic, but there's always, when you're in it, there's always something that's not going exactly how it should. But you have to take a step back and be like, I'm doing it though. I'm doing it. So, kudos to me. Kudos to me. I'm doing it and it feels good. Because I'll tell you that sitting in it and wallowing and thinking and scrolling and looking at such and such who has the shoes that you want, it's not going to do anything for you after a while. And we don't know these people's lives. If the last 3 years didn't teach us anything, it should teach us that we know absolutely nothing about each other's lives. Truly. We don't know what each other are going through. But I think the last panel I heard some beautiful advice about the highlight reel. That's what it is, we can't, but we also have to understand that we're primed to believe this stuff. So don't feel bad for believing a snapshot of someone's life. This is the psychology of these applications.
So good. And I think to that as well, like one of the reasons why I started AfroKlash, I think, is so many people in this room that are starting businesses, are showing up on social media, we're all doing it for the first time. So many businesses that people have started, they're the first people doing it. There's no blueprint in a lot of cases on, if you do A, B, C, and D, you're guaranteed to get success. Everyone is kind of just winging it and figuring it out. So, that's really what these kind of spaces are for, is to kind of be able to listen to people and meet people that can give you inspiration. So for you starting out, was there anyone that you felt like you could look to for inspiration that made you feel like, I can do it because I can see someone else doing it and killing it?
I think both my parents are entrepreneurs now. So within their respective fields, maybe, they're creative people. I think we have creative people in our families. We have a lot of shadow artists in our families. So they were creative people that never called themselves creative people. They never took on the title artist. So I think for them, their art comes out in different ways. My mom owns a tailor, my dad his business, and they try to express themselves through those mediums. And that was inspiration for me because they broke the mold for their families. My dad was an engineer at Ford, so left Ford against everyone's advice and stepped out on his own. And I don't know who advice my mom was getting. To be honest, I don't know what advice she was getting, but she was doing her own thing as well. So they serve as inspiration, but also my now husband threw me my first photo gig. So my first paid photo gig at that. So he was like, charge this much. I was like, are you sure? And so he really believed in what I could do before I could. And I think if I could give one piece of advice that I'm living now and reaping the benefits of it, is surrounding yourself with people who believe in you, but until you believe in you. Like it's so powerful. It's not to take advantage of it, but until you really see it, you need people around you that see it.
Snaps, give me some snaps. And I think, to that point, I think another thing that also, when you're in that space of everything seems hard. Everything is falling apart. It's so easy to just throw your hands up and say, I'm not doing this anymore. I would rather not. I would just rather do the easy thing. So during the pandemic, we launched the 100-Day Challenge. Did anyone see that? Like, for 100 days straight, she was posting on Instagram in the middle of the pandemic, replying to people's letters, sharing stories. So how did you stay consistent with that in the middle of all the things going on in the world and all the things you might have been going through personally? So how did you not lose inspiration? Or when you do lose inspiration, what brings you back to the things that you're passionate about?
I think, you know, and I've been on this wave, I think, since 2020, because there was so much going on. I think we were all insanely overstimulated in this cramped space, looking at our phones. And I just wanted to connect on a human level. So I launched something called Letters from a Stranger. It was a 100-day project. I had to post every single day, take a question from an audience member, and answer it with a handwritten letter. So to me, it was a way to connect on a human level, besides the, you know, get ready with me's, which I love, you know. Yeah. Besides the get ready with me's and the everything else that was going on at the time, people were asking real questions. They were asking, you know, the questions that you're asking today. They were asking, like, how do you move through grief? I lost an uncle, you know, my dad's best friend, at the top of, I think, the project. And the people around me, what I spoke about previously, like those that believed, were like, you gotta keep going. What would he want? So it just, I think, choosing an anchor, it could be a project, it could be a business, it could be the commitment that you made for yourself, and returning to it over and over again, even if you drop the ball one time, it serves as just this fuel, this fire. Like that the project changed my life. It did, because it showed me, one, I could do it. Because there were times, day 50, that was like, nobody knows. You know, nobody knows. But I think doing a challenge like that, picking something for yourself, or whether it's a week, 2 weeks, 30 days, you'll see the results from it. And it might not be 1 million followers, but it'll definitely be for yourself. I can keep a commitment to myself. I know that now.
And I think you had a lot of incredible projects. To that, you put out a lot of great work. You just launched this new series, Craft and Release, the event you had this week. So I'm sure it's like picking your favorite child, but do you have a favorite project, or what's your favorite piece of work that you put out, and why?
I think Passing Through podcast is my favorite piece of work. Thank you. It's my favorite piece of work to date, hands down, and I think that I would encourage everyone to create a Passing Through. It's just a single narrative podcast from myself, just reflections and wisdom collected through travel, through conversation. And I think that we just, through it all, like, we have to build some type of archive of understanding for ourselves, for the people that come after us, beyond beautiful photos that we take, beyond beautiful places that we see. Who are you? Who were you? Yes, the questions remain the same, but your answers will change. I want to know what you think at 28, I want to know what you think at 58. So I would encourage everyone to just, even if you never figure it out, just mic to, phone to face, tell us how you feel. Tell us what happened. It can't just be the camel in Morocco. Just you can't. That's not it.
And you've been doing this for a while, being creative, sharing stories online. And a lot of people in this room are creatives, entrepreneurs, want to start businesses. So what are 3 things you would say someone needs to have together before starting, trying to post online or start their own business or take on full-time entrepreneurship?
Those are a lot of different things. To start posting, nothing. You need a phone. You don't need an SLR. You don't need, I'm a camera head, yeah, but you don't need anything. You just need yourself. You need a desire to do something. And that's it. Especially in the economy, the digital economy that we're living in right now, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's actually encouraged for it not to be right now. So whatever you feel like your calling is, whether it's knitting, whether it's sewing boots together, whether it's makeup, like, do that thing. And you can be a multi-hyphenate doing that thing. I'm not just a photographer anymore. So
I love how you answer that question, just because I think when everyone has an idea, right, your first thing to do is Google, how do I do this thing? And you see 10 steps, and you think you have to do all 10 things. Build a website, get a logo, hire a producer, you get this color, get your brand color. So I think that's such a great response to sometimes it really is that simple, just picking up your phone and doing the thing. Yeah, that's great. And then what do you think is something, especially with social media, that people might take for granted or glamorize about being an entrepreneur?
Everything. Everything. Like, I think, the last panel had some phenomenal answers. Like, it's just, it looks beautiful, it looks clean, it looks polished. Sure, I think platforms like TikTok are showing more of the reality of behind the scenes work. But, I don't think you have to leave your 9 to 5. I was working for 16 years. And I think I went full time almost 3 years. So it's like you don't have to completely burn the ships, like keep a ship. You should actually keep a ship. And I think that like documenting versus creating is kind of the way to go now in the creator economy. So I had somebody talk, I think I did a couple months ago, asked her, she puts together pilots and things like that for treatments for filmmakers and things like that. She's like, well, I want to show people, the end result, treatment. I was like, show us how to make the treatment. Like, how to make it is now how you build a community. It's not just the end result. I think we're seeing that. If you pay attention to people who are doing very well online, there's a lot of behind the scenes content.
And then, in the next year, what is something that you're really looking forward to? Any upcoming projects that we should look out for, or how can we support you?
I have a lot. A lot going on right now, but in the process of working on my first book. Hopefully will be coming out in the next year and a half. Working on a pilot, so passing through the podcast to film. And Craft and Release, which is a new venture that my co-founder and I started, which is a series of workshops and live events. So a specific theme is picked throughout the month, and then 6 to 8 storytellers come up and tell the story about the theme. So this past week was Body. It was extremely powerful, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful stories. And I think that I would love for everyone in this room to participate in some way, because we all have stories inside us. And sometimes we don't think they're special, or they're interesting, or anybody will listen. And I'm a testament to the opposite. My work is.
All right, before we take questions from the audience, we're gonna do a quick rapid fire to close. What is the worst advice you have ever received?
Received bad advice. I don't know why find your niche. Stick up and, like, I know it's important in a lot of spaces. It is. You marketing, all that, narrow down, but I think that I think you can make it doing more than something. Truly. I think when you're like, oh, I just want to do hair, there's somebody out there that cares about hair and your knitting. Like there's somebody, we're living in just an extremely hybrid economy. Right? So I think even diversification of your creative passions will benefit you in the end. So I think that a lot of people have told me stick to one thing. A lot of people have called me just a photographer. They've called me just a podcast host. And then I was like, okay, well, I want to shoot video. And I picked up a camera because of photography, and it was just a lot easier to do this because of the skill set that I already had. So don't let anybody tell you that you can't do anything, or that you need to, how are you a niche? You yourself are not a niche. So I think showing up as such, yes, there's benefits to it in certain businesses, but as yourself, it's okay to let that run wild.
You're an avid reader, you read a lot. What are 3 books you feel are required reading that you would always recommend?
How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's very archaic. It's very, very, old school, but Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People is probably #1. just remembering someone's name is a key to a possible lifelong relationship, right? I would say, this is like choosing a favorite child. I've read so much self-help stuff just because of my dad's industry.
Right, holiday?
The Obstacles Away is a great one as well. Thanks.
But those are good ones. That's
Yeah.
really good. That's a really good one. All right. What is your favorite Nigerian and Cambodian dish?
I love the goosey soup. Woo! That's Cambodia. My food, I really like, soups. They have a lot of, it's not like a pho, but it's kind of like a pho. Yeah. Yes. So this soup in Cambodia that one of my aunts makes, it's like a beef stew. It's very nice.
All right. And what's bringing you the most joy right now?
Making what I want to make. Whether people like it or not. Like there's somebody who, if somebody doesn't hate it, somebody doesn't love it. Like truly. Like there's somebody who's looking at my work right now and is like, where is the wine series? Like they're like, give me this thing I particularly want. But I'm in a blessed position right now to where I can make the things I want to make. And thankfully, people have been supportive of it. But I think it's just bringing me so much joy to be able to just paint this canvas.
All right. Can we get a round of applause for him, please? Any questions from the audience? Does anyone have any questions?
First, I want to give you your flowers because I see you as an OG IG girl. Like, you were giving us the aesthetics that we didn't know were possible in the beginning, and it really inspired me as a creator, so thank you for that. I think my question really is, like, how would you encourage someone who wants to move past, like, we're currently in a day and age with social media where we feel like we have to constantly recreate what's already online, the trends and what everyone is, I guess, going viral off of, but how do we move out of that space and really start to create things that will live beyond us? Like we have a podcast, we tell beautiful stories online and offline, we have your event series, and I'm kind of in a space where it's like, I know I constantly want to do the reels and stuff like that, but I want to do something more and something deeper and something really meaningful. So how would you encourage or advise someone to take that next step? What are the avenues you think are lucrative, but also, are long-lasting and really will allow you to continue to be creative without, your authentic self dimming your light in any way as far as authenticity?
That's beautiful. And the greens. Yeah. It looks good. I think that, yes, everything is templated, right? Like you can take a trending sound and, hit something. And it might get a couple views, but I think whenever I come across a question like this, I'm like, you already know what story you want to tell. If you're asking it, it's on the tip of your tongue, right? So it's up to you to choose the medium. I think podcasting, we've seen a lot of saturation in the space, but there's still a lot of runway. So if the conversation is what you want to have, whether it's like, we just don't see enough examples, I think, of just the range you can have. If you were like, I just want to interview my mom's family, and that be a limited series that I'm going to put out wherever listening platform you prefer, that could be a podcast that you have that would survive you, right? So it's like you choose the medium, whether it's the written word that you like to do, whether I think picking in that regard where your vein of gold is, of like, hey, I'm good on camera. This is something that I want to do. Like, you get enough reps in, get 100 in, that's now my number. And I'm like 9 times out of 10 you'll see that. Both monetarily and just from a soul perspective. So you know what it is. So when you do, right, when you put it out,